My God, man. It's Thursday. Wait, it's the last
Oh
Thursday?
man.
This is the last Thursday of May.
Yep. We've
Dude.
made it to May.
Oh, fudge, man. It's already May. It's just, it's, well, no, I mean, like, May for me
The
has
the
been kind
year's
of a
going
weird month. Yeah, like
it's been a super weird month and it's going by way too fast.
well,
So
and of course, kids finishing, Omar finished junior high. He's going to high school next in a couple of months or
that's
so. So it's like a lot
right.
of
And well,
changes, man.
congratulations there. That's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
It's a lot of work. I'll say that. It's a lot of work. Oh my God, it's a lot of work. There's a reason why there's no hair up there. Um, it's
Yeah, I can commiserate with that.
it's yeah, it's tough. But I mean, I appreciate all the hard work that he did through the year, and all the different homework assignments. The eighth grade was definitely a
Hmm.
much big push for us than seventh and even
Yeah, it's
sixth
a
grade.
lot.
The homework for sure. Like it was consistent, quizzes all over the place. He even had a quiz on Tuesday this week, the last week of
Oof.
the year. Like, come on, like let him go. Like, no,
That's not okay.
one last one. Just knock it out, so we can mess with that GPA. I just messing. Obviously, I don't know how much that weight that last test did. Or I'm assuming maybe they already had to submit their sheets, but it's kind of just new.
That felt like a busy work quiz, not like this is a really important demonstration of your
Well, because it
knowledge.
was also so Monday we had a holiday, as everybody knows, in the U.S. here, and so there was no school, right? So they came back from school, from a break, from a 3-day weekend, nice long weekend, from Memorial Day, obviously, and then he goes in straight to a test, and like, okay, so he was stressing about that, but then he did right because they're teaching him about taxes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's good though.
it's good to know. I'm like, great.
So my nephew is just graduating from high school, and he had like a just a not like a home ec, but like
Mhm.
a how to live life class, and he's talking to Marie and to a couple of his other family
Well,
members,
that's a
and
good
they're
class.
like,
Yeah.
no, but he was like, oh yeah, they were trying to teach us like how to keep like our finances straight and run like a ledger for like a checkbook, and
Oh,
they expect you to keep track of everything you spend. How unrealistic is that? And all the grown-ups are like, yeah,
that's what we do.
boy, no, that's what you got to do.
That you learn
But
that
he just
quickly
kept
when you.
going like,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, who even does that? Who
Who
keeps
even
track
does
of all the things they spend? And you're like, oh
Isn't that what the
no,
credit
you're a
card is for?
kid.
Like, it's like the Aper, right? It's like a very
The
small
aper.
Aper. Yeah. It's
So
a,
yeah, it was a little concerning
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
we're letting
0%
down our
Aper.
kids.
We are very much. No, I was happy when he said he was doing class. He didn't like the
That's
content,
awesome. Yeah,
but
especially
then
early enough, like in eighth grade is a
yeah.
better time to start.
Well, because I was wanting him to kind of get ready for the whole. I was like, hey, I know you're thinking about getting a summer job and stuff. Well, let me tell you about Uncle
Yeah.
Sam. It's that family member you never knew
Ah,
existed, but he lives with us
right.
the whole time, rent free, and he gets money as well. So yeah, I kind of had to give him a little bit of a heads up. So
Look,
like the
a
first few
little bit.
jobs, don't even bother to think about the money. It's really more about
Right.
the experience. It's the prestige of working at the location, not about the paycheck. Because if you look at the
For
paycheck, you're
sure.
gonna cry. You're gonna be like, I wasted all that
Not good.
time. But I digress. I'm
Well,
obviously
he'll just be like a famous Instagram influencer or something. That's a savvy and stable
he's
career path.
he's very much not into that. He's very much the gamer side.
Yeah, he's
I
like,
feel like he's
because
a
I see what
streamer.
you do, Dad. Because I see what you do.
Well, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. He helps a lot. Like, I'm actually this summer, I'm going to be relying heavily on some of his help, and again, internships do come. He's interning with the tkbay organization here.
Right?
Freelance and all. Maybe actually, I may even bring him with me on some of my. If I end up having like a couple of trips that I can take him with me, I'll
Heck
probably take
yeah.
him with it. Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? Perfect experience.
Good
But yeah,
times.
long story is summer's here. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back, everybody, to a to a tech podcast. That
This is a tech podcast. Who
yeah,
knew?
we have absolutely. We've been talking tech for the last 10 minutes. You guys have been definitely staying up with us. I want to say good evening, happy Thursday, happy last Thursday of May. Um,
Actually, for a lot of our viewers, it's already Friday.
it's already Friday.
We do this late enough.
Yeah, I was like, TK, I just want you to know I'm having my morning coffee, and it is Friday. It is Friday. I mean,
Yeesh.
hopefully you guys will have the last day of the month, kind of like a little bit. I think what's it called?
Yeah.
Saturday is Saturday the first? Yeah, Saturday is the first. I don't know why I keep like
Mm-hmm.
second guessing. It's
I
been a
kept
crazy
thinking
couple
today
weeks.
was Friday. I'm glad that we actually got this podcast working because I was just the wrong day of the week all
Dude, I
week
am so sorry
this
about
week.
last week with the whole like
No, 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 no,
I
no.
was
You don't have to apologize for
so
that.
messed up with the time zones. I thought I was going
Yeah.
to be able to I legit thought I would be able to do the podcast with you because my flight out of Dubai last week was at 2 a.m. Dubai time, right? So I'm thinking, okay, with the time difference and the alignment of the stars and the darkness of the night, all the good stuff was going to work, and I was going to be like, let's
Hmm.
do this. And then I realized that no, I had to be obviously the flight left at 2, so we had to be on the plane by 1:15. So there was just
Hmm.
no timing alignment between the two of us, and then obviously we had a
Yeah.
conflict on Friday. So obviously, welcome back. We haven't seen you for a couple of weeks, but a lot has been going on.
And
A
my
lot of
voice
stuff.
is still not 100%, so I'm going to be muting still. So I needed the
It's
week
okay.
just to not talk.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you jump. So I'll say this: thank you for at least getting on with us. It may end up being very much a concise, very tucked type of an
Yeah, we'll
experience.
have to keep this one a bit shorter for sure.
Oh no, for sure, for sure. And I think we don't have a lot of topics, a lot of things kind of just recouping. But I felt like there was one thing that we didn't get a chance to talk about because I think you and I are doing a little bit different approach to this with the
Hmm.
Snapdragon PCs. I know
Yeah,
that wasn't one of the ones we talked about before the show, but
sure.
um, I was trying to jump on the same bandwagon as you and go Microsoft in that direction.
Hmm.
But I was having the hardest time putting in an order with Microsoft. Like while I was in New York, when I was in
Mm,
Dubai, I VPN'd, I just tried everything under the sun because short of actually trying to call and be on hold with somebody in sales to try to figure out what's going on,
yeah,
I couldn't put in the order. And then by the time I came back to LA to try to put in the order shipments were
back
in the middle
ordered.
of July. Well, no, it was all the way to July, like mid-July. And I'm
Yeah.
like, let's see, I could just pick it up from the store at that point. But um, so yeah, so the story what I'm trying to say is I ended up basically going in a different direction. I decided to go with our with Asus as their PCs. Because obviously, there's a lot of companies that jumped in. Snapdragon Elite is a thing now. Everybody knows about it. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more hands-on. Our buddy Trish is going to Computex. Actually, I'm very excited for her
Yeah.
to be there. I'm going to probably send a message and say like, hey, if you see any Snapdragon X Elite, take some
For
pics.
sure. Like,
You know,
you
like,
just want to like
grab one.
hook us up with some gear.
I'll be
Just
like,
take a
just
few with you.
grab one, just say, look, I'll do a review, and then they'll see my face in the video, and they'll be like, what kind of a catfish is that? You sent,
It's the best
it's
kind.
the
The
best
best
kind.
kind of
It's the
catfish.
best of our week kind. That's how you
Ha
do it.
ha!
There
You
you
burnt.
go. But yeah, no, I'm excited for her, and I think our buddy also Josh Vergara is also going to be there. So some people are going. I actually thought for a split second I got an invitation from one of our companies that we work together,
Hmm.
but it was a misworded. I misunderstood the email that was sent. It was an invitation to the
Um,
booth, not an invitation to Computex. The way they
oh
worded
yeah,
it,
yeah. I've gotten a couple of those where it's like, hey, we'd love
yeah,
to invite you, and like, it was one of them was even where we want to pay for your travel, and you're like, wait a minute,
yeah.
you mean like my travel from the hotel that I would already be staying at
Well,
to Computex? That doesn't make any sense, guys.
the
You're
wording.
really overselling this.
Well, some of these, I'll say this: some PR companies are getting very creative in their titles, or even in their wording, and that's what got me confused because I kind of went back a little bit and I responded back and I say, "Hey, I'm
Hmm.
interested to talk a little bit more, but I just want to clarify: you are going to you're offering to cover travel and accommodations, in exchange for coverage. That to me was a fair experience. I mean, obviously, it depends on how much you're willing to pay the
Nope.
agency. They're like, no, we meant for transportation to the event and to our
Yeah,
booth.
and
And
I
I was
don't
like,
need. That's
no, I'm like,
lame. Don't do
yeah.
that.
And I was like, you got my hopes up. You got me thinking I was going to finally go to Taipei, and then you crushed me. But either way,
And it's
uh,
pretty great.
it is going
Computex
to
is
be
still
very,
like one of my favorite shows, and
dude. It
it's
is
just I
absolutely no.
miss.
Like specifically this year for me though, like this year of all years, not just Taipei and computers and all of that,
Hmm.
but like Snapdragon's going to be there representing it in force.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be knocking it, man. So this would have been the year because there's no other convention, no other computer show that we can go to here that even resembles Computex in the magnitude of what they do. And obviously it's in person.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of stuff. So I think next year, if I don't get an invitation, I'm going to offer my camera services to Trish and just say maybe she'll be like, yeah, he's with me and he'll be running the camera the whole time, and I'll be like just grabbing PCs and stuff. So yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it is a bucket list event for me, at least definitely at least once. I'd love to be able to go to
You got to
camping.
get out there. It,
Yeah,
it it would be right up your alley. And again, it's just like the thing I've been trying to shift some of my YouTube channel over is
yeah,
like
yeah.
I can't do full PC builds like I was doing at Newegg.
Hmm.
I literally just don't have the room. But man, playing with these mini PCs, I'm tearing into those Acers. That Acer sent me a laptop and a Chromebook.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And you're
yeah. I
like,
remember that one. Yeah.
man, I kind of miss that being a part of the daily conversation. I'd do like the phone stuff on my own personal channel, and then I'd have like Newegg to do the PC stuff, and it was a great split. And you're like, right now, I don't think phones are that exciting, and I think laptops
We're
are in for a big sea change event. It's gonna be
we're into a
cool.
little bit of a excitement level back. Like life has been brought back into or breathed back into the actual PC world, especially with Windows on
Yeah,
ARM. And I'll be honest, like I have not been this excited about
it's
PCs
been a
as much
bit.
as it is. And I'm not gonna lie, but I started reaching out to some of our good friends that we work with, like Geekom and AceMat, all the PC manufacturers, the new ones. And it's like
Hmm.
I'm like, when are you guys gonna start thinking about doing Windows on ARM? Like, are you thinking about Snapdragon Elite, Snapdragon X Elite, Snapdragon S
Or
Plus,
X Plus. Yeah,
whatever you want? Just get something on ARM because if you're thinking about low power and fanless, this is up your alley, like literally up your alley.
yeah.
But
Or
unfortunately,
like those Azul like thin clients. They just
exactly.
sent me another email like, "Oh, we're so excited. We've got 13th gen Intel." Okay,
No, I mean,
that's cool.
yeah, no, don't get me
Don't get
wrong.
me wrong.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
But
Can you snap some dragons? No, I feel like so. Obviously, there's still. I'm not going to say that I'm not without skepticism. A little bit. I'm a little bit concerned on how, um, like performance, like daily driving type of things that I typically do. And I say this personally because I am running, an M1. So I've been
sure.
using similar
Yeah.
technologies on Mac for at least a year and a half now. I got it, I think, in February
Oh
of
yeah.
last year. So it's very well proven for me. I use this on a daily. I travel with it. This is my traveling rig. I no longer take a Windows PC because of how well it works. But I'm
Yeah.
not going to lie that so the Asus build that I went with is, if I'm not mistaken,
I mean, like, what did you go with? So you went
okay.
Asus.
X Elite 32 gigabytes with 1 terabyte of storage, 3K display.
Nice.
I don't think it's touch, but it has backlit keyboard. And what I really liked about it a little, and I'll be between you and I, what made me
Hmm.
get a little bit even more convinced wasn't just there's a resolution on the display, the I/O. So we get full HDMI,
Mm.
which I didn't. I noticed that the what's it called, Surface didn't have.
Nope.
And although I would have wished for an SD as opposed to a micro, but they gave us a micro SD, kind of a
Yeah.
bummer. I'm still gonna have to use it, but it still has a full size USB A 3.2, so I can definitely transfer
Good.
with my SD card. I mean, I'm thinking. I mean, it's gonna be a dongle anyways. These things are so tiny. Um,
Yeah.
but it was pretty much the HDMI. I think that was what kind of sold me with the chassis, a 70 watt-hour battery. Um, I forgot what the oh, but they didn't do 64. That was the only thing that kind of bummed me out. They only
Yeah.
had 16. And
Well,
Costco had a
I
32 build, which for some reason even Asus didn't show it on their website.
yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing is like at launch we're going to be seeing Costco specials. Like
Well,
it's not we're waiting for this stuff to
no.
already
Costco is
start shipping
totally
and
not gonna.
stuff. It's like
So the 32 gigabyte build of your build, so not the yours, but like
hmm
the one down, they were already offering $100 off.
yeah.
Yeah, and on
And
this
again, I
one,
would have gone with a Costco build. This is so silly. Like I don't think I'm really going to need the 64 gigabit version of the Surface, but I landed it specifically to compare directly against the tests and the benchmarks that we saw from those fanless systems
yeah,
down in
yeah,
San
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Diego.
The one we saw
And
in
to
San
me,
Diego was 64 gig build.
I'm actively like recommending against people doing what I'm doing. There's a very limited number of people that I feel will really benefit or
Yeah.
really need that 64 gigs of RAM. I've got 64 gigs of RAM in my crazy stupid Threadripper build here, and
Uh-huh.
I multitask like crazy on this thing.
Hmm.
And I don't think I really need 64 gigs, but I'm glad I have it.
Hmm.
But I don't know that I've ever needed it. It's a little more precious when we're talking about shared system resources between GPUs and CPUs, but it's still not a precious situation. I'm getting this machine to benchmark. That's why I'm getting it. I don't think I'm really going to be touching it. I think 32 is really going to be the sweet spot for this next year or so
Yeah.
of AI performance. I
Yeah.
think 16 is going to be lean. I think
See,
now we're going to start to see
I feel like
16
16 is
struggle when we look at AI models.
I was very surprised to see some of the builds, like Samsung, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think is only running 16s,
Only 16 configs,
which
and
made
there's
no
the
sense to me.
most expensive 16 gigabyte configs.
Well, so they try to bundle everything and all of that, but I mean, like at the end of the day, when I looked at it, I'm like, why not 64? Why not 32?
And I think Samsung might be the only supplier of the top end X Elite chip. I don't think anyone else is
They
going
got
with
that
the 84 variant.
the 84, the 84. Yeah, I
So
don't.
there's there's the 78, the 80, and the 84, and I
Yeah.
think most of the higher performance X Elite systems are going to be the 80. I
Mhm,
think Samsung is the only one who's offering that clock speed bump
mhm.
in the higher wattage configuration, and they
But then
don't give
they don't
you
give you
an
the storage.
option for 32 gigs of
No,
storage,
and this is
and
soldered
they're
storage. Yeah.
using UFS storage.
Oh my God.
They're not even using an NVMe or an M.2. So that's also going to be storage that's just soldered directly into the main board because
They're
it's
re
UFS.
Yeah, they're definitely setting it up to be more of a very light business work type of a solution, and not really taking the full
With the
advantage.
highest power draw at the
No,
highest price.
no, I
I
agree.
don't get it. This
I
is
don't know.
like the wrong the wrong puzzle pieces
The
to
pieces don't
smush
the
together.
pieces yeah, so I initially when I started looking at PCs, Samsung was my first recommendation. Not recommendation, but my first place I went to, I'm not gonna lie, they were giving away the free TV that came with the laptop, and I feel like maybe that's why the price was high. Um, but then when I looked at the configuration, I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. I get it, but it just
Mm-mm.
doesn't make sense for what I need. I need at least 32. 64 is what I'd like to live. I have 64 on this PC and it flies. There's no issues with RAM. I'll say that I don't think I ever use more than 30, maybe 28 to 30 gigabytes, but that's with Chrome open with like 12, 13 tabs. I always worry about, like system hog type of applications. And I typically, like right now, we're talking on my Chrome on the laptop, I'm running at least 17 tabs. And because
Yeah.
some of my tabs
Let's
are pinned,
see.
so I
2,
pin
3,
some of the
4,
tabs that
5,
always
6.
open up, and then I have all of my other, inboxes and
Yeah.
sites and stuff like that. So it's
I'm
on
I'm
average.
I'm doing I'm doing 10, but for
Yeah.
me it's that I'm usually doing like two browsers between 10 and 15 tabs. I've
Mhm.
got email up, I've got management software up. If I'm
Exactly.
editing video, that's sucking down a ton of RAM. Then anything that we might tap into the OS that leverages anything on the MPU or anything AI is immediately going to dump all of that information into RAM.
Yeah.
So you can watch your RAM usage skyrocket when you start tapping the MPU.
Oh, no, no,
That to me
absolutely.
is why I think 32 should really be the spot that enthusiasts are shopping. If they think that they're going to be using this as any kind of actual workhorse
And
machine.
I think that's the biggest thing is so the difference is they're not cheap, right? These PCs are not coming in. They're not budget PCs. These
No,
are
not even
very
close.
much, yeah, these are premium cost, 1,000 plus, 1,200 plus cost anywhere you go, even on the entry side, all the way to the top end, you can get somewhere around the 24, twenty five
Yeah,
hundred bucks. So the reality of the matter is these are kind of like what we saw last time with the Surface Pro 9 5G.
it
It
was
was seven.
pricey.
Yeah, it was 1799 in the configuration we had on loan from Microsoft, and that was the top spec version, right? And they had the 5G modem. And the current configurations don't have 5G modems, by the way. I haven't seen one that
No,
shows a 5G modem. All of
no,
them are,
no one's doing one yet.
yeah. I mean, which I would have imagined at least Microsoft would have thrown a Surface 10 Pro 5G or something. But either way, um, they're coming up really soon. I mean, as the reason why I'm mentioning it because they're mostly all releasing in the middle of June, if I'm not mistaken. And I
Hmm.
think that was the other reason why I went with Costco because I was like they were shipping it on launch day, so I was like, okay, great.
Yeah.
At least I'll get it within a couple of days or so, hopefully. So yeah, I'm cool with that. But I'm really excited. I want to start editing on. I love DaVinci, and I love the fact that it's OS agnostic. Like you can jump from one to the other, and you
Yeah.
can transfer your library from one to the other.
Yeah.
Um, and that Asus one is going to be even lighter than my MacBook Pro. It's slightly smaller on the screen at 12.6 inch, as opposed to it's not 12 at 15.6 as opposed to 16, which I think yours. No, wait. Yours is 15, right? I think the Surface is 15.
15, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, the MacBook Pro is 16. That's what it was. So, long
Mhm.
story short, I'm excited. Way more excited than I should be, but I can't wait.
Well, at least for the two of us, as we kind of talk through some of this stuff too, it'll give us like kind of differing perspectives. The Asus vibe is a vibe that I really dig.
Mhm.
I'm going with the Surface
Yeah.
almost solely because of the RAM.
Oh,
I was really
I'm
tempted
with you.
by the Asus, and I really liked what Lenovo was showing off too.
Lenovo, yeah.
I ended up on Surface as kind of the default just because of this benchmark and performance comparisons that I wanted to run. And
Mhm.
so at least there we'll have something to kind of bounce back and forth.
That's
Like,
what I felt like. Yeah, it's a perfect combination to look at it from where you're going at the top end of the spectrum, what we can do with storage and RAM, and I'm going in lower, but still somewhat in the more of the, not gonna say the more affordable, but actually mine is more of the entry level.
yeah,
Honestly, the only reason I went with it is because I could not fathom spending that much money and getting it in July. Like I'm not
no,
pre-ordering something to show up in July, but because by July's time, not only am I late to the party, but I already have all my answers. And if I'm going
yeah.
to buy it, then I'm going to just wait and buy it, or probably just get it on Swapper or something.
Well, that's why I felt bad for a couple of the manufacturers. Like, again, I'm actively using these Acers, and I reached out to them, and they're like, "Well, we probably won't be getting ours out the door until
Computex?
mid-July."
Ah,
And you're
okay.
like, "Oh, okay, that's cool."
Oh no,
I mean, the new Swift looks awesome, but I
dude, I'm
really need to
expecting
be
Robo
talking
and
about
Kala,
stuff
maybe
sooner than
even,
that.
I'm wanting them to jump out of the way. It's like,
Oh
hey,
man.
do you remember last year? Like, yes, well, we have a sequel. It is X
Well,
plus
and
plus.
I'll be curious to see how Qualcomm does with their
Mhm.
dev kit, because their dev kit could just prove to be
So I put in
a
a request.
good home
Yeah,
PC. So we'll
I
see.
put in my name on the list. I'm hopefully when they start selling that, I
You're on the list.
well, so okay, so as I was still debating all bunch of stuff, and I saw the article talking about it, and I'm like, hey, that actually makes perfect sense. It's like a little nook, right? It's a tiny PC. It is, for all intents and purposes, a breeding ground for programming and all of that. But it also could be used as a standard home PC, kind of like what we get with these, the Ace Magics, the Geekoms and stuff like that. So that was my
Yeah.
intrigue. It isn't available to buy at least. It's I guess they told me to let me know when it's available, but for $899, it's hard to beat.
Yeah.
It's because at its best, even though you may not think of it as a portable PC, it is very much a portable PC. You take that with you, hook it up to some
Oh yeah.
some glasses, you know what I mean? Like video out, you can still work with it. Long story is, there's a big shift in Windows and the way we think of laptops and the consumption of power and endurance and performance. And it is being shaken up finally to the level that we've been wanting for many years. X Elite and X Plus are definitely going to provide that experience. It's questionable right now to see how these PCs are going to perform. So till people start getting their units, review units, go out to creators and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we're not on that list, but when we get our units within the next couple of weeks, I think we're still all going to be in the same boat, kind of figuring out what's going on, and yeah, how different systems run. I think that's the biggest thing for me, and I feel like
Yeah.
we went with the right combinations. Both you and I kind of covered the spectrum on both sides, and I like the fact that Costco is still doing specials on launch. I never knew that as actually a
Yeah.
thing until my brother was telling me.
I got to
So,
keep a
wow.
closer eye on some of those because most of the time it feels like companies that are trying to clear stock,
Mhm.
but every now and then you'll see something like, actually that would have been a really good deal. Like that actually would have been something that I
Because I
could
don't think
have played
anybody's thinking
with.
about Costco when they're thinking about like brand new PC from either HPE or Microsoft or whatever. But now they have the Surface, but only in the 32 gigabyte storage
Yeah.
configuration. And when I compared it to the Asus, it's a better display, backlit, the keyboard's backlit, better I/O, and I think literally for the most part, I think it was the HDMI port. I
Yeah.
need it to be a little bit more where I'm able to plug it into any hotel when I'm traveling and just use that as a second monitor.
I'm really hoping that the Surface can kind of do what I need it to do for this experiment of maybe retiring my massive workstation.
Ooh.
But there's no way around. I'm gonna have to like set it up on laptop hubs with extra IO and
absolutely.
multi-monitor. It's like it's gonna be a cabling nightmare for a laptop, but I'm hoping that it'll at least get the work done once I get it all set up.
I'm oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised. But again, you're right. We need to kind of see how optimizations are going to be done. Software support is going to be. It's the beginning of the road. I'll say this much. This is not. Yeah, this is not the end of the road. This is purely the beginning of the road.
What I think is kind of funny though is like this isn't just a new initiative. This isn't like a Surface Duo.
Yeah.
This isn't a new initiative that's just starting today. This is kind of the stumbling track record that Microsoft has had since Windows RT. Yeah. I think it's funny because I keep getting comments on my videos like, well, I hope Microsoft really commits to supporting ARM now. And you're like, well, they've been improving their support for ARM since Windows RT. So now this is the next like massive phase for Microsoft. Mm-hmm. And the only computers that are going to have this new Copilot plus Windows Recall AI PC branding are Qualcomm. So you're basically just saying, oh, I hope Microsoft commits to Windows 11 now. Boy, I sure hope they keep doing the Windows. Sure would be bad if they... That's a Google thing. Google would kill something established like that. But now this is just the inevitability of Microsoft finally realizing that they've been behind for 3 years on supporting a better performance per watt. And now it's just Windows.
Yep.
This is the Windows we should have had since Windows 10. Like, it's silly to me that we're like, oh, I don't know. It's like, well, I've been playing on significantly less powerful ARM PCs. They are incredibly functional. They just got a significant performance uplift with this new Windows update. I
saw you talking about that on the podcast, yeah.
And like, the battery life is still fantastic. Everything's still running great. The Robo Ancala is the best tablet it's ever been. And I'm still getting these comments like, I don't know. I sure hope it can load programs or open a browser. And you're like, what do you think computers are?
The concern
How
that
do you...
It's always weird when you get those comments from folks that maybe sometimes don't have...
That should know better?
Well, yeah, that's the weirdest part. Like, I'm like... How is it, like, when you wrote the question, did you read it? Like,
you had to have used a browser or an app
you were on
to make it to my video.
Exactly, yeah.
And leave this comment. And I feel like you should be able to better assess the situation, especially for someone who's commenting on a tech video.
The better question would have been can it load Crysis? If it can run Crysis, then maybe we could talk about it. But that even then, it's an old joke. I mean, yeah.
I should try that on the Robo Ancala.
See if you can load up.
Like, so this new update finally got us. I'm running Control at the lowest possible quality settings, but now with better improved support for the GPU.
Okay. So
Windows now better supports the GPU. We've moved up from 480p graphics to 720.
Oh, okay. This is actually pretty good.
But think about it. The Robo Ancala.
This is Steam Deck level.
Yes,
now.
yes. The Robo Ancala is like an 11th gen Core i3 in a fanless chassis, and now it's running Control at 720p and holding pretty close to 30 frames per second. Dude. Like, you can't tell me that's not a significant performance improvement, and way better than we ever thought that generation of ARM hardware was going to be able to handle. Like, this is real good. And what we saw from Qualcomm on the X Elite performance system, the demo systems, all fanless and all in that super lowest 24 watt configuration.
It was, yep.
So your Asus, I believe, is going to be a 40 watt part. I think my Surface is going to be a 40 watt, which is pretty big uplift. And they have fans to keep the cooling better.
Yep.
how are we not expecting that there's going to be a decent little nudge up in what the capabilities of that machine are?
Absolutely, and I think that was one of the reasons why I kind of pulled the trigger on it. And again, I was trying for the hardest time to try to get a Surface as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm still on the fence a little bit, because one of the other things, obviously, is we all know how great Costco policies are. Is that
Yeah.
if it is something where I notice that it is beyond, like, my needs are beyond what the system can do, it isn't that hard for me to flip it over and then just go get the 32,
Nah.
the Surface version of it, either from Microsoft, or even if maybe I'm hoping we'll have more options. Maybe I'm thinking this is just the launch roster, that as soon as it's
Yeah.
maybe the companies see the interest, they may start releasing more SKUs, at least more RAM. I don't understand the conceptual 16 gigabyte. There's a few companies that went straight 16.
Yeah.
Like Asus, even on their site, only lists a
But
16.
I think this is probably what is going to be the most popular configuration. For some reason, people only buy base model, which is
Yeah,
really hard to get consumers to consider like what their needs might be.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so knowing that the yield at launch is probably going to be a little lower,
Hmm.
you try to satisfy the broadest section of the market that you can, because unfortunately this is following that step from the MacBook. We knew that this was coming, and it's unfortunate that even though the RAM is not actually on the SoC die
Hmm.
in the same kind of platter
Yeah.
that Apple makes, it is soldered in modules really close. Now, I still need to highlight, there was an era of laptop manufacturing where we were taking a very similar physical component to almost a stick of RAM
Hmm.
and soldering it into the motherboard in a way that indicated we probably could have made the RAM upgradable, but the company wanted to lock it down.
Yeah.
This is a little different than that, but it's not quite the same as what Apple's doing. Why Apple's like unified memory architecture is probably going to end up being superior for trying to track every byte of information and how fast it can make it through a system. But this is still, once you work with Qualcomm, they've got a certain yield. The SoCs and the power management chips are going to be really expensive to start with that first batch, that first yield. The companies don't want these things to sit on store shelves, especially in a busy summer right before back to school shopping really kicks off in earnest. So
Well,
they're
yeah.
going to try and move as many as they can at the lowest possible price, which all means base model. I think it's going to be a while. The thing that really bugs me is X Plus.
Yes.
I think there's a very good argument to look at X Plus,
Hmm.
where you're only missing two performance cores, two
Yep.
CPU cores, and the GPU performance and NPU performance should be really similar. So you take a small hit in CPU benchmarking, but there is no config on X Plus that's going to step us up to 32 gigs of RAM. And that, I think, is the safer buy, since like Apple now, you've got to buy ahead of what your needs might be later on down the road.
Yeah. Sorry, not to kind of disrupt as you're talking. I was just going to bring up the Asus build that I was looking
Yeah,
at.
do it.
So I think there's an infographic here. So this will be the easiest way to kind of snap into it. Although it shows 16 gigabytes because this is Asus's website, the same exact configuration, it just runs 32 on Costco. Same price as the 16, which is what I liked about it. So they gave you double the RAM for the same. 1 terabyte of storage, PCIe Gen 4, SSD storage, of course, full I/O. We have two USB 4.0s, two USB 3.2 Type A. That's the one I really like because of the SD card Gen 1. One HDMI 2.3 or 2.1, and one audio jack. Good stuff.
Nice.
And then one micro SD card, which again I would have preferred
Hooray.
SD, but still.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi 7 compliant, of course. A backlit LED, which I really liked on that one. The display, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is 15.6. And you're right, it is a 45 watt CPU performance on the load. And it is, so it's a 3K 120 hertz refresh rate, 45 tops, XLE built. I mean, it's a decent configuration for
No,
what are
you talking about? That's a spectacular configuration.
Oh, well, yeah, I know, but I meant to say,
great.
like, not hitting 64 type of things, but still
Right.
very, very nice. And then again, 71
Because
hour
the
battery
other
there
thing
as well.
I really want to see is like I'm playing with an Acer
Mhm.
that I think has a 65 watt hour battery.
Okay,
and
that's pretty cool.
Acer rates it for 12 and a half hours of runtime. So this was the Core Ultra
On
7 155H.
Oh, okay.
So we know that's not 12 hours of video
I
rendering.
was gonna say no.
We know that
It's 12 hours
that's
of
like
watching
12
video.
hours of mixed use, a little bit of web browsing, a little
Yeah,
bit of video streaming, writing an email,
yeah.
that kind of whatever metrics that they
It's
use.
a 60% brightness resolution. No higher than
Yeah, and like
yeah.
50% brightness. Yeah, sure.
We're a very low lit
When you
room.
really
Yeah,
when you
very
really think about how low level those needs are
yeah.
and how aggressively Intel has tried, because what do they call it? The 155H is a tetradecagon
Okay.
CPU configuration. So it's a 14 core CPU
Mm-hmm.
where 6 cores are high performance and 8 cores are efficiency, and 2 of those 8 core are ultra low efficiency. Just so your fans will shut the F up when you stream 1080p video from Netflix. Like, the lowest possible use will now finally turn the fans off on your laptop. But anything above that, or if you're charging the battery while you're using, those fans are kicking up like crazy.
Yeah, that's
So,
typical. Yeah, because of the heat on the battery. Yeah.
so I'm trying to like work out, because when you go to Intel, they always give you the most optimistic
Oh,
like
yeah.
power usage on
It's
what
like the
their
EPA,
CPUs are going to do.
which it's like the EPA rated mileage on any car that you buy. It's
But
very
your
much
Asus,
yeah.
where it's a proper 45 watt
Hmm.
peak
Yeah.
performance system, it is. I mean, it does have fans, right? I don't think any of the
Yeah.
X Elite
Oh,
systems are
no.
fanless,
It's
and
Asus
you have a
isothermal
slightly
technology
larger
is what they're calling
a
it. But yeah.
slightly larger battery, going
Mhm.
from like the 65 watt in my Acer to the 70 watt here in this Asus. Even knowing that that's going to be a much higher TDP than the reference systems that we saw down in San Diego, that should still be a significant improvement over what a Core Ultra 7 should be able to do when you're off battery. And then I immediately need to see, because even with this Core Ultra 7, if I benchmark plugged in, I
Mhm.
still get better results than if I benchmark unplugged. You still take a performance penalty in CPU and GPU performance the second you pop that power cable. And
Yeah.
I want to see, is X Elite actually going to drive at the same speed if it's plugged in or if it's on battery?
I think it's obviously hard for us to tell at this point, but at least from my experience with using it with Mac, I'll say in general, I never ever hear the fans on my PC. The Mac has fans, and I do hear them like once in a blue moon. But the weirdest part, like if I'm rendering H.264 MPEG, 4K 60 frames per second video, with
Mm-hmm.
basically, just that's the typical video renderer that I usually go with. I never hear the video. I never hear the fan. It renders, it does everything. It churns through it. It cuts through it like
Mm-hmm.
butter. All the good stuff. Weirdly enough, if I render a 1080p video version of that same video, the fans kick up. And I'm like,
That's
what?
funny.
You're working harder on something less? But I guess
Mm-hmm.
it depends on the codec. It all depends on the codec when you're jumping. I mean,
So
it's
there's
the same
probably
configuration.
it's like how we build ASICs for
Yeah.
like crypto,
Hmm.
and you're like, there's some configuration that Apple has built specifically into the SoC that handles workload in a different way,
Yeah.
and the second you step outside of that, even if it's technically a less strenuous task,
The
it makes
system.
the system actually work, as opposed to having like a pre-installed little nodule that can tackle that automatically for you. It's hilarious when
It
you run
was
into those.
Yeah, so I typically don't. I mean, I don't render, but like sometimes when I'm working with clients and so on, and they want preview versions of their files, I'm not going to render it at 4K 60. It takes too long to upload it because I know those are going to be revision video
Yeah.
file. So either I'll do 720 or 1080, but 1080 is usually pretty quick. But I always find it interesting, like funny, like when I'm rendering it, especially on battery, that the fans kick up.
Um,
And I'm like, really? Like you're telling me it could have been faster on it, but it just takes longer to upload. There's the whole.
for sure.
It depends where you are. I'm convinced that anywhere outside of my house has better internet. Like in Dubai, they had way better internet. I uploaded the video for the for POCO F6 and F6 Pro at the hotel, and it took 90 seconds. 1.6 gigs in 90 seconds.
Wow, I'm so jealous.
I was like, I mean, in my mind, I was trying to factor in the math and trying to pull the numbers and like, is it worth the 24-hour flight and delay and connections and sitting in a plane to upload that fast?
I've been having those thoughts like
Like,
maybe I need to drive to my local library and
dude,
upload
seriously,
there.
like everywhere else, like I don't have turtle speed internet here, but my upload speeds are like
My
40
upload speeds are
megabits.
pretty garbage.
They're
Yeah.
pretty bad. They're very bad. And like, again, I feel like I'm pampered everywhere else because, you know, and there is a thing that Apple does on their side with DaVinci. The way they render, the way they produce, and the files are way smaller. Like same project, I'll reproduce the same project on both Mac and PC on DaVinci. On the Mac, for some reason, it is about 1/3 of the size less. And when it gets to YouTube and you upload the file from the Mac, it renders to 4K faster. And I'm like, what? It's like it. Oh my god. So yeah. So long story is the PC era is coming up, and it is coming up in full swing. So that I'll say that. So look for some content. It looks like probably end of June, I guess, at this point, because by the time it shows up and we start putting some stuff out, depending on, I think yours is probably getting in ahead of mine. Mine is shipping. So
I hope so.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's coming up. I'll say that. That is definitely an exciting part. But I know we also talked about the fact that both of us got a chance to play. Let me go ahead and remove this guy, bring us back into full swing.
Hey, what's up?
You know, close up for your buddies. So there's a couple things. Obviously, we've been playing around. So both of you and I have been playing with the Pixel 8a, and it's been a couple of weeks now. I actually took it with me when I was traveling. So yes, I keep mine protected. It's the same color. I was going to say you could see Juan. His camera doesn't want to focus. So let's see here.
It focused like when it was like right in front.
Sony for the win. Sony.
Wow.
Sony. Prada, Sony, Gucci. This is G for
So
Gucci.
I usually keep it in this handy dandy poetic case that a buddy of mine gave me.
I don't know.
That's pretty fancy.
Yo. We're twinsies, bud. We're twinsies.
This is usually how I'm rocking it, but I just shot a Pixel 8a versus OnePlus 12R showdown. So for that showdown, I had them both out of cases to show off where is my OnePlus
12R?
I think I might have lost the 12R. I have no idea where it went.
And that's the end of that video, guys. So just so you know, that was the resolution.
So like and subscribe.
Please. Yeah,
I guess one won.
Yeah. It was like the Pixel 8a.
Oh, here it is. It was under two other phones behind a laptop because my office is in bad shape.
Hey man, I heard this very, very, very wise man say, you know what? It's always in the last place you look, because that's how it is. Because
because it's silly to keep looking after you find it. So it's always in the last place you look.
Everybody, to each his own goals, or his or her goals. So your goal is to stop when you find. Then maybe we need to talk. Maybe you can help me.
Actually, hold on. I do want to backtrack real quick before we go on to Pixel 8a, because this is also kind of an Android-y kind of question. Michael Peppertech saying, with Windows on ARM, are we going to see Android apps working on Windows similar to how devs can make iPad, iPhone apps run on Mac OS with one click? No, not because it's ARM architecture. You have a completely different platform for compiling and runtimes. It's not going to work like that. What's interesting is we had in Windows 11 a subsystem for Android.
Yeah.
So right now, it's kind of funny. All of the Windows-specific ARM architecture, Windows-specific programs, your performance can actually be better if you install Linux apps through the Windows subsystem for Linux. So as long as you're running Windows 11, you can install Ubuntu inside Windows and run Linux apps just like they were regular programs in Windows. So in Windows 11, we had a Windows subsystem for ARM. Yep. So Windows subsystem for Linux, WSL, you go into a little command line, you go install Ubuntu, and Ubuntu goes cool, and then you sudo and you install, you get your apt-get, and everything's running like butter.
Yeah.
Windows subsystem for Android, unfortunately, was tied to the Amazon App Store.
Exactly.
So
You have to
you
install
would
the Amazon App
install
Store first. Yeah.
you would install the Windows subsystem for Android, and then you would install the Amazon App Store. Actually, you would install the Amazon App Store, and then that would kind of just
I
install
was
the
about to.
WSA for you.
Yeah. It
Um,
as you're
but then
downloading it.
you open up the Amazon App Store, and you can install Android apps through Amazon. But it did install a full working build of Android 13 inside Windows, and your Android apps would show up just like any other app. The first time that I used Threads on my Robo and
Oh,
Kala,
okay. Yeah.
there was no Windows app and there was no browser support. So I grabbed the Android APK, I sideloaded it through Android 13, and I had a working solution. It was really great. Had a working solution to use Threads on my Windows PC before they enabled browser support. So that
Yeah.
was awesome. Unfortunately, there's no money in Amazon App Store.
No,
that's
no.
not a thing.
But it also, the selection through the Amazon App Store was very slim. It's not
Was
the
always
thing.
it wasn't great.
It was. Oh, I mean, yeah.
Like I would have rebought LumaFusion again if they sold it on Amazon. I'd have like another $20. Here you go.
Yeah, it would have been that would have been the third time me buying LumaFusion.
Yeah.
At that point, like, I already own it.
Yeah,
twice.
same. It would have been 3. It was like, especially because I had the iOS version too.
Yeah.
So here's what's funky. We are technically losing WSA this year.
Oh,
It has
okay.
been deprecated, and it's technically going to be removed from Windows 11,
Okay.
except for Windows PCs in China, because Tencent just signed a deal with Microsoft to sell Android apps on Windows PCs, and basically all they're going to do is port Android games through WSA into the Chinese version of the marketplace that you buy programs through for Windows.
So why would you
So,
change the
WSA
entire, like, what would be the benefit of removing the support?
Money.
And well, they're losing.
You don't
money.
have an agreement. You don't have an agreement here in the United States for WSA to make money. WSA is going to make money through Tencent
in China.
in China. It's always money.
Oh,
I mean,
dude,
anytime we ask a question like this, well, why would you do? Well, because money. Why would Apple give Europeans a SIM card tray and take it away from us here in the United States? Well, because money.
It gives them to Canada. I mean, it's like Canada. It gives them to Canada. It's not just Europe, dude. You just have to cross the border in north. You can pick one up with a SIM card.
So, if Windows
so
11 maintains WSA support in China, I'm hoping, without anything that's too untoward or security compromising, that we might be able to find ways of activating it again here, just so that we can at least sideload Android apps again on Windows. It's not a huge perk anymore, IMO, and I'm finding that like more and more, if you just give me an ARM or a Linux native version of a program, it's probably going to be better than what we had for mobile. Like,
Linux,
I started editing in Kden just because it ran so well through WSL on my Robo and Kala, and I didn't have DaVinci Resolve and I didn't have LumaFusion, and Kden is free. So why not do that? You know, it's like if you're willing to take that one little baby step out of your comfort zone of familiarity, boy howdy, are there amazing free programs out there that are going to get you through a ton of workflow.
Dude, I'm specifically interested. I mean, obviously with Kden and all the other options, but at least on DaVinci on ARM, on Windows on ARM, DaVinci 19 is in beta right now. But some of the new
I've been
AI
running
stuff
it.
So I didn't download it because I'm like a little bit skeptic on beta crashing, traveling projects and stuff like that. And so for me, I'm still running 18.6, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's the current.
As soon as it goes full version, I am so looking forward to some of the new AI functionalities that they're doing in there. The tracking,
so the thing that made me
mixing and
super sad, made me crazy sad.
Okay.
Windows 11 24H2. I detail this, and I did an update video on Windows on ARM with the new Windows update. So Windows 11 24H2. It's the year 2024, second half H2. This is the massive update. They try to do 6-month major updates for Windows. On 23H2, Geekbench could not see the GPU in the Robo and Colo. You could not run the Geekbench GPU test. You could only run the CPU tests. So no OCL, no Vulkan support. It couldn't see anything. 24H2 arrives, and not only do we get nudges in CPU performance, but now Geekbench can properly see the GPU. Games like Control get enough of a performance uplift that we can bump up the resolution. Everything's running better. I've got the DaVinci 19 beta. I'm like, this could be it. We could finally be able to, and I load it all up, I install it. It says it sees the GPU and that the GPU is an OCL compatible GPU for DaVinci Resolve. I fire up DaVinci Resolve. Nope, we can't find it. No OGL support. And you're like, why? Come on! We were so close.
Oh my god!
Everything was there.
The sign was there. We'll walk through the door, but nope, there was a wall.
Nope.
No, I know.
So I'm really hoping that like whatever needs to happen at this point, I really do feel it's a DaVinci thing.
Yeah.
Like, once I saw just how much better this was running, how improved these things were, other apps that hadn't been able to see the GPU could see the GPU. I was really hoping that would step over, but now I really feel it's like DaVinci has to update Resolve so that it properly sees these components, and I don't think they're really going to push that until the end of June. Once the laptops are actually shipping, that's when they'll take that step.
Once it's in consumer hands. Because I think that's always been the caveat that a lot of us don't realize, that whatever we see prior to launch is pre-release, and whatever decisions and everything. And I'm worried about the commentary that we're going to see, because again, some reviews are going to be coming out with pre-release hardware.
All the early reviews are going to be like, I mean, is it as good as my MacBook? I mean, it's pretty good, but is it like as good as an M3 MacBook? Because the MacBook is a MacBook, and a MacBook is a Mac, and it just works. So does this just work? It doesn't just work enough. If it just worked, it would be a MacBook, and then I wouldn't recommend it, because then you should just buy a MacBook.
Why even bother at that point? Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's what I did. That's what I did, man. I went with MacBook because I didn't have any other choice, actually. I was a little bit hesitant on the Mac.
Why do you think I've been so trying to hype up this idea of using your cell phone to replace laptop work? Is because we literally have not had a good, true mobile performance per watt. I love like what I could do on my old gaming notebooks. Those workstation laptops are phenomenal. Even this Core Ultra 7, it is such a significant improvement to Intel machines of the past. It's still a thin and light portable desktop. If I'm really getting the performance that I'm paying for, it has to be plugged in. If I want to use it for longer than a short session of editing, maybe not rendering, it has to be plugged in. It is not a good portable computing experience.
It's almost like
it is a mobile desktop with much louder fans than even the monster workstation that I have under my desk.
There used to be actually a class of laptop referred to as the desktop replacement laptops, and they were usually the big 17-inch with the massive with the numpad and all of that. But
even our thin and lights don't really. I mean, and so again, I totally appreciate why you went MacBook, because like if you want to be able to use what the machine can really do, we're kind of not selling that truthfully in Windows land, even with the amazing updates that we've seen from AMD. Because even AMD's performance per watt has gotten pretty good. It's still an x86 machine that's really more of a portable desktop, less a true portable can use it out in the field machine.
It's purely a thermal power management issue that we know suffers on battery. Like, battery was just not designed for it. And I struggled with that experience for so many years using my Acer Concept D. And although I enjoyed it when it was plugged in, it was great. It ran at 2080 Ti. I'm like, dude, the best thing ever. I couldn't edit. I'm traveling and I'm sitting on a plane. I have tons of time to kill.
God, and like the power bricks that you'd have to pack.
Dude, but not only that, it doesn't charge on the plane. So it wasn't even that. It was just like you plug it in and the thing doesn't turn on. Or if you're lucky enough, you have to shut down the PC, sit there and let it trickle charge. And even at that point, it makes no sense, because you're not enough. You don't have enough power, and the batteries are not swappable anymore. At least in my concept, it's a what I mean. Like, it's not like the old battery. Like, you just I'll just swap a pack. Like, no, We're not talking what's it called, Panasonic type of tough book at this situation.
Right.
Although the tough books were great, except they're not really built for performance. They're built more for toughness.
I mean, that
Right.
GTAC that I just recently reviewed, that
Yeah.
machine is stunning. It is so beautiful, and yet it's running a 12th gen U series. So it's all efficiency performance,
Yeah.
and it's even really not that great.
No,
But then I try and do
tough
something
books are
like
not.
edit and render video, and you're like, oh, this is gonna take so
No.
long.
They're designed very much
Oh,
to be a client-based solution. So they're always client connecting to, telnetting in, connecting to servers, running host applications. I think the typical solution to most of these rugged PCs are that type of experience, because it's a field type of PC, right? It gets deployed to basically companies, crews, and you have like massive groups of basically image. They just run an image on every single one of those. I feel like that should be like the laptop that comes with a Cybertruck. Like you get a Cybertruck when you you get that laptop with it. You're just deflecting bullets and all of that. But yeah, no. Again, very excited to see what the performance per watt is going to be, like real life usage experience, and how Windows is going to start updating it, getting us more that normalizing.
well, I hope Microsoft sticks with Windows.
I hope so
I'm
too.
really concerned that they're not
Uh-huh.
going to
The
keep
doors.
they're,
It'll
they're
be
not going
funny
to
if they're
keep
like,
doing
the next
Windows
operating system is Door.
doors.
We're skipping Windows. We realized that after all these years with Windows XP,
Mic-
Windows 11, Windows RT, we're going to go Doors.
Microsoft vinyl siding.
Exactly.
That's what we're doing next. We're all those nerds on Juan's video who were really concerned about whether or not they'd keep iterating on ARM performance. No more Windows. We're done with it. So anyway, Pixel 8a also
Yeah.
has an ARM chip in it. That's
It
pretty
does?
neat.
No way.
Segue.
Segue.
What?
Segways
Yeah,
in the
I
middle
did
of-
it.
Wait a minute.
We just
We're not
moved from
sponsored
one
by
topic
Segway,
to
though.
another with a through line that was related to both.
Hey man, if there's ever been a Ryan Reynolds segue, it is yours. No, don't.
So can I just jump in real quick?
Please.
Whatever experiences we're going to share here.
Oh no.
This is something that we mentioned, or we're kind of repeating. I'm repeating myself here a little bit.
Please.
But boy, howdy, has this been reinforced even harder. I'm increasingly finding less and less reason for there to be a Pixel 8. I like the 8A. It is so close to the performance of the Pixel 8. And having already seen the deals and specials where this phone is like easily found for like $200 or like, a half a ham sandwich and a handshake with eye contact.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm having a harder time like really thinking like buying the base model Pixel, not the Pro, but the base model Pixel, knowing that in 6 months there's going to be an A series that is 85% of what that phone represents for like half the price when you start factoring in sales or trade-ins or deals or carrier specials or stuff like that.
Even at pre-order, they were giving $100 back on everybody's order, so it was already $399 to start. I mean, look, I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely. I think the 8 or the base model of our smartphones, especially with Pixel, the way they've been doing it every year, and there's no reason for them not to continue doing it on the for the 9 and the 9 Pro, and the 9A kind of later on. It's hard. Yeah, you're right, because it's such you're already not getting the full potential of what the tensor is going to be. Like Google, we saw that last year where we had features that were only available in the 8 Pro as opposed to the 8, where that was, like again, they're starting to segment the experience. The A series makes absolute sense. Absolutely. Like this is it is a budget line, but it carries the same punch, the same performance. Now we're up to 120 frames per second. The displays are beautiful. You're getting nice long batteries in there. Everything screams better deal. And you just have to find a way to get off the full number series and be on the A series. So like just wait a little bit more. 6 months later, you'll get it.
That's kind of what I'm trying to get at though, is like Pixel 9 right around the corner. We're gonna get hyped up about I'm imagining a 9 Pro and a 9 Pro XL. I think there's gonna be probably a trio to quartet
So Pro
of
Plus
different
5G, XL, Ultra.
devices. Well, and I still think we'll see a Fold. So I think we're
I
going to see
There's a
a
good
base
chance the
model
Fold is
Pixel 9,
and
a
a Fold.
9 Pro, a 9 Pro Big, and a Fold. I think we could end up seeing 4. I'm going to have a hard time with the 9 if the 9 is similar compromises that we usually see between the 8 and the 8 Pro.
Yeah,
Down a camera sensor, different, like kind of build quality, blah, 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 blah. Because then 6 months after that phone launches, we're going to get a 9A that is going to be 85% of what the Pixel 9 is going to be.
Yep.
And this has played out a couple times now.
Yeah.
Like, in some ways, the Pixel 6a was a better phone for a lot of consumers than the Pixel 6. In a lot of ways, the Pixel 7a was a better phone for a lot of consumers than the Pixel 7. And my wife has the Pixel 8, and I'm glad we got it for her when we did. And we got a pretty good deal on it. But you know what? She could be rocking an 8A, and I don't think she would. Not only do I not think she would notice any serious differences in like camera performance or in how the phone operates, she might actually like that the phone is just that tiny bit smaller. It's not a drastic size difference, but just little kind of whittled down at the edges kind of a thing. She might actually like that better than the Pixel 8. So again, if we had just waited that out, if she hadn't needed to get a phone when she needed to get a phone,
because I think she was coming
the
off
8A.
Was she on the Xperia prior to that, or is she still getting?
Yeah. So she was on the Xperia 1 Mark IV, but so that was never going to be her main phone. That was too big. It really was not the phone for her. But she liked what the Sony had to offer, and if we had gotten the Xperia 5, she would have gone with the Xperia 5, but we didn't get it. So that left us with Pixel 8 kind of by default, and she loves the Pixel 8.
Yeah,
but
it's a great phone. Yeah.
I'm really confident that she would have liked the Pixel 8a better for being cheaper. Like right now, I was kind of exaggerating a little bit, but right now, like on Google Fi, the Pixel 8a is $299. It's a $300 phone.
Okay.
The Pixel 8, $450. It's $150 more, and I don't think there's a $150 difference in the camera sensor.
No, this will be one of those only situations where I would say, yeah, no, it is absolutely not that type of experience. You're right. It's not. There isn't. But again, like I said, it's not that it's a gamble. I think it's going to come down to when you need the tech and what you need to do with it. Marie was in a very specific experience, and that is what it is. But had time not been an issue, I think you're right. You would have
waiting it out. I think she would have dug it.
The 7A have always not always have at least in the last few years have proven themselves. I feel like the 6A for me didn't really knock it out of the park as much as I'd like to. I still felt like it ran a little bit. It had a lot of the heating issues that the 6 series did. The 7 series,
and especially coming off of how wonderful the 5A was.
Yes,
the 6A definitely felt like it's struggling in some things that the 5A
isn't as hard at the time. The battery life was struggling a little bit. 7A did a lot better on that. They learned a lot more, and then of course the 8A just again, it's just an inevitable. What was I going to say? Evolutionary improvement that we all wanted. So it hopefully continues, and we'll have to see. So I mean, for me, the 8A has been a champ. Again, I'm finally finishing up my stuff with it so that I can actually transition it to Omar, and he's going to be upgrading from the 5A. So to him, this is a big upgrade. And with the exception of the loss of the headphone jack, I think he'll be fine. I have a couple of good buds for him. And I think worst comes to worst, seriously, I do have USB-C DACs. He will not be left alone. He will not lose out on audio. So let's just say that.
Yeah.
So for sure. And but yeah, no, not the kind of any other highlights from your 8A. I mean, other than the comparison with the 12R. When do you think that?
I mean, here's the difficulty of reviewing a Pixel A series, is that it's hard to keep producing new videos where you talk about how good a communicator Pixels are and how good of a point and shoot camera Pixels are. because I don't know that those experiences have fundamentally changed over the last couple years. I see little bits of refinement here. I see little bits of polish there. And we can point to those and say, hey, this is an experience that I think has definitely improved. The 8A is certainly a better phone than the 6A was, but each phone for its era represents a very specific conversation on managing your data, giving you Google services, assistant integration, better features like call screening and hold for me and stuff like that. And then the sleekest and simplest pull phone from pocket, push shutter button, and put phone back in pocket, snapshotty kind of usage I think any phone on the market has.
Yeah.
That being said, that's a very low level. It's why I think I even appreciate the 8A even more than the 8, is because that really should be our bread and butter standards bearer.
Yeah.
This is what a good Android experience should be. We should not be leaving that up to Samsung. We should not be leaving that up to OnePlus. That should be Google's flag to wave. And it makes the more expensive Pixel 8 an even stranger proposition, because it's kind of the same communicator, point and shoot camera, slightly better camera sensor, similar processing. You're not going to see a lot of those differences readily. And then you have to go to the Pro to get things like the better telephoto sensor, the larger form factor, blah, 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 blah.
Which I think the delineation between standard and pro it's much clearer this year with the 8 and the 8 Pro. But it was, again, it's always the conversation, like, where it's a tougher sale on the standard model when the more affordable one is so close to it. And the differences between the two aren't the substantial differences that you'd see between a standard and a pro. That's the biggest thing. It's not like you're going to get crappy images on the 8A. It's still backed by Google's algorithm. It has the same processor. It, again, now up to 120 frames per second refresh rate too. So we're not lacking on screen refresh rate.
The fluidity of the experience, because remember, as YouTubers with millions of subscribers showed us, boy, when we go and show this in slow motion, look at how choppy Pixel 6a screen is, and then you can show that next to an iPhone Pro Max screen with 120 hertz. It doesn't matter that there was like an $800 difference between those two phones. But then you can conflate iPhone as just all being the same thing and recommend a cheaper iPhone that didn't have 120 hertz, because that will be better than the Pixel, because that's always a way to sort of rig your comparison in favor of whoever will make you the most money in your SEO and
scenario
ad rates and analysis.
How to basically stack the deck. But no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
It is the tough that comparison.
So really, I'm walking away from the Pixel. I'm not walking away from the Pixel A. I'm wrapping up some of that first series of coverage. While using the Pixel 8a. It's a very good version of the flagship killer feeling from a Pixel. It doesn't feel like a mid-ranger. It doesn't feel like a 5A or a 4A 5G. It definitely doesn't get the battery life, the confidence of I'm leaving the house at 70% battery and I'm going to be fine all day and all night that I had with the 5A. Like, I had no fear. 50% battery lasting me the whole day.
There is a thing to be said on Qualcomm's tech, but the 7 series has been a champ. Like, seriously, my son's phone, he's had it where he's gone to school with 13%, and he still came back with 4% at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Not to say that he was on the phone all day, but I mean, I knew the phone would not die. Yeah, it was that type of experience. So it was always enjoyable to know and rely on it. I think
sure.
The 8A is not. I mean, it'll be less of an experience, but I don't think it'll be as bad. But I also feel like I think it charges a little bit faster, so hopefully topping off may not be as long as it has it with the 5A. But again, if nothing else, the better performance, the better display, I think you'll enjoy it a little bit more. And we can see what we could do with the 5A. Maybe one of my other nephews or nieces needs it.
Oh, I mean, think about all of the kids out there that like would do really well. I mean, like, as a good starter first smartphone that
Yeah.
like probably won't be taken that care of. It's like the
Well, I mean,
last
no,
life of a
with
Pixel.
Omar's 5A, we had to replace the display. We unfortunately there was some damage on one. I forgot what thing.
No, that's what I mean. Is like,
Yeah,
so
and
he
we
moves
Bobby,
on to
I
another
fixed it.
phone, and then you have like a nephew who's like getting their first smartphone, and you're like, I know you're not really going to take care of this. That's okay.
It's
But
okay.
you use it as the let's learn the responsibility of taking care of your gadgets. But I'm using the 8A, and sorry, the last point about where I'm at with the thoughts on this. It feels. I'll be curious to see what happens with Android 15.
Okay.
If the hardware here is able to support some of the advanced functionality like display out through the USB-C port,
I'm hoping. I haven't had.
which
I
I
didn't
think
install it on
should be
mine,
a
but I
thing.
hope. I hope. I don't know if
I
Google will do
haven't.
it.
I really didn't want to have all of my Pixels running the beta. So my Pixel tablet, my Pixel Fold, and my Pixel 8 Pro are all running the Android 15 preview. I want one phone that's just like what normal people use. Like, I'm not trying to do it all. But the more I use this phone, the more I'm comfortable with the sort of daily driver Pixel experience, and the less I'm really impressed by all of the new cloud AI stuff that Google's trying to do. Gemini is slower and not as feature complete as Assistant still.
Yeah.
I don't like having to play games with uploading content to my G drive to use more robust Magic Editor features for things that I'm really not going to do to my photos. I don't like the idea, like taking a really cool photo of Lex and then like editing her into different positions and stuff. Like, I don't know. I know I'm kind of an old, snarky, bitter, midlife crisis-y kind of guy.
Yes. Yes.
But like
Yes.
I
Yes.
point my camera with purpose and I take photos of things that are important to me, and that's the idea I'm trying to capture. I'm not trying to create something artificially artistic. Which isn't that interesting when you think like, oh, well, what I can do is there's a picture of this campsite, and I can move the tent part of the frame, and then I can move this person into another part of the like that. It's really that I don't see. That's something I'm gonna do a whole lot of. I do like occasionally tweaking something out with like a magic eraser.
I think
Like if
that
there is something really distracting, like out of focus behind my daughter, I'll, wiggle out like a little tree branch or something that looks like it's like going through her head. But that's also just something I can do almost as fast in GIMP without AI tools. Like I'm pretty good at using sort of traditional photo editing tools to get that kind of stuff done. So the more I keep trying to figure out what does cloud AI have to offer me, what does data center AI have to offer me, the more I keep bouncing right off of it. So the last thing that I've kind of gotten to are like, okay, there are a few fun things you can do with like summaries and like when you do long form recordings and it's kind of collecting all of the information from all the different speakers, and that is kind of fun. It's not something I would base a phone purchase on, and it's not something that I think is going to be unique to the Pixel for very long.
no.
So
Samsung's already incorporated some of it. If you use
and Samsung kind of beat Google to the punch on a lot of that functionality, really getting it into the Galaxy before it was in the Pixel. So anyway, I keep coming back totally charmed by the sort of older idea of what an Android phone should be. That experience, I think the Pixel 8a is just polished, like literally they rounded the corners off of the Pixel 7a, figuratively and literally. It's a softer, friendlier, more accessible phone. It's a bit more playful.
Yep.
But none of what they're hyping, Gemini and AI and all this other stuff, has appealed at all. Like I'm really struggling on what to talk about there, because I think people should buy this phone. I think people should buy this phone instead of the Pixel 8. I think this is the much better consumer accessible. It's more affordable. You can find better deals and better sales on it already. This is the starter Android phone. This is the baseline for what a great daily driver Android communicator experience should be. And then you're paying for a bunch of AI nonsense that you'll probably never use.
No, well, but yeah, for anything that's server based, I think the 8A can do. I think if I'm not mistaken, the exception is the vibrant video. I think I haven't seen that yet. But as far as like stylizing and using, as long as you're able to back it up, um, I agree.
And this is sort of like vibrant video thing. Like, open up CapCut, play around with some of the color palette tools, and you can get pretty close to Video Boost on device and not have to upload stuff to the cloud. If you spend 20 or 30 bucks, you can get LumaFusion, and
Play with the Luma.
man, you can get really close. So the only thing that we're lacking in Android land is a better noise reduction filter. So if you shoot in really low light, and that is where the Pixel 8a is going to struggle against the Pixel 8 Pro, is that larger camera sensor does do a better job of soaking up a little bit more light. It plays around with your ISO. It's a better image quality when you're shooting in mixed lighting and low light conditions. If we could find a way to do just some of that noise reduction filtering on device, that's the last thing that Video Boost can do that we can't do. Everything else, all you got to do is kind of play with your gamma a little bit, up your saturation a little bit, play with your contrast, maybe lift some of those levels, especially if you can do anything in a video editor that resembles kind of an S-curve. There's your Video Boost. It's real easy. And you can edit it in LumaFusion and render it on a Pixel 8 faster than you can upload to the cloud, wait for it to be processed and then sent back to you. And it's going to be at a higher resolution because you take a resolution hit whenever you do Video Boost.
Of course.
It's not close. The on-device experience is better.
It absolutely is.
If you pay for a good video editing app up front.
And this device can handle it because the tensor is actually strong enough to run similar to the way you have it on the 8 or the 8 Pro. It's same processor, just again different configuration. But I think just to summarize the 8A, it's it doesn't disappoint. It delivers, and Google still has another winner on their hand. And I think it's going to carry them all the way till the 9A series for next year. And
so, do you think? Because there was all this doom and gloom. There were a bunch of stories that came out recently on some of our favorite Android publications saying, like, I think we saw zero growth in North America for the Pixel in Q1 of 2024.
I remember that. Yeah, they were talking about Japan and some of the other markets.
Do you think this is going to... I feel we're in such a significant consumer downturn in spending, in consumer, not just consumer electronics, just across life is flipping expensive right now.
Yeah, no.
Inflation is out of control.
It is absolutely out of control. People are feeling it in
Do you think seeing specials like I go to Google Fi, I want to get a cheaper cell phone plan, and there's the Google phone from Google Fi, and it's $300 instead of $600 with their special. Do you think the 8A course corrects for the downturn in Pixel market share? Do you think we see a nudge in Q3 of 2024?
I'm thinking more around Q4 2024, not necessarily Q3, because what's happening right now is there's a couple of seasons where people start looking at upgrading their devices. There's typically the holiday season around Christmas and New Year's, and those are the people like generally Christmas and Thanksgiving, obviously with Black Friday and so on.
Sure.
So those are going to be the biggest ones. But then there's also the whole back to school consideration. The 8A is absolutely a student-driven type of a solution for hardware.
Sure.
This is, where you're wanting to get the bang for the buck. You want to get a great communicator that does everything, takes great pictures and so on. It checks all the boxes the right way. So I feel like if there's any impact that we're going to see from it, that's going to come there. And it's still ahead of when the 8 and the 9, when the 9 and the 9 Pro come out. So it's not going to cannibalize anything out of that market. But
Fair.
The biggest thing that I will probably say where the tough part about it is, I think we're still in a very much of a course correction for power that we have right now. The people that upgraded to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 or the 8 Plus Gen 1, they're still high. They're still high on the performance that they're using on the device. They're not losing performance just because because they waited a couple of years. So the 8 Gen 2, the 8 Plus Gen 1, they're not going to be going for this. Some of the older generation devices that are maybe running the 888, 865, maybe those are the ones that are going to jump into it. Maybe they will see the benefit of going into a newer Pixel, jumping in from the 765 or what was it called? Even with the old 3A, 3A XL, those people will benefit.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a big enough of a change where we're going to start seeing like, oh, look at this is soaring sales? It's a tough call. It's a tough call because you have to be in the market for it, kind of like what Marie was in at the time. And you jump into what's available, and this is literally one of the better options right now. If you're not looking for that specific sensors or the configuration that you get on the Pro, the 8 is the right way to go. The 8A is the right one to go. And out of all the other ones that are available right now, it's the better deal one. $300 on that kind of device, brand new, and the support, the years of support that it's going to get.
It's kind of a big deal.
It is absolutely, and Google knows it. And I think they're willing to sacrifice some market loss for the 8, where the 8 Pro is not going to get touched till the 9 Pro comes out, in lieu of giving people more of an option. And I think I love the fact that they took that page from Apple, and it is absolutely the right recipe. Carry the processor. Don't gimp on the processor.
Yeah, I just had to look it up. Yeah. So I'm very anxious about what Samsung and Google might be doing for Tensor.
For this year, because we're still running on Samsung this year, one more year.
So, while you were talking, I pulled up my old performance charts where I do all my performance testing and do a whole bunch of PowerPoint bar graphs for people who like to read that kind of stuff on patreon.com/somegadgetguy.
Links will be in the
description. The Pixel 8a with the Tensor 3 has about a 10% uplift in Geekbench in single core CPU scores against the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1.
Okay. That makes sense.
So not the 8 Gen 2 from last year, but the 8 Plus Gen 1 from the year before. It loses in multi-core by about 5% against the Qualcomm, and then it loses in both OCL and Vulkan graphics benchmarking tests in Geekbench. So if you have a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, for me, I think the main phone that I had that chip was the Xiaomi 12S Ultra. Yes. You're still kind of beating Tensor 3. That means Google is about a generation and a half behind what's going on in Qualcomm land with Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 and Dimensity 9400 right around the corner. Yeah. So Pixel 8a to me becomes an even more important conversation point, lower price for the better communicator software, and the better point and shoot experience. But the second you start driving a phone with any kind of like gaming, content creation, if you have more of an eye for I want to compose a photograph more than just I captured this moment and look, I took a photo right from my pocket. Look at that. The second you start doing more, that's where I think we're really starting to see that computer side start to struggle. And that's intrinsically linked with Google's relationship with Samsung right now, where they have, it's so frustrating because like Tensor 3, just in the vacuum of going from Tensor 1 to Tensor 2 to Tensor 3, Tensor 3 has actually been such a great iterative upgrade over Tensor 2. Exactly. It just happened at a time where Qualcomm and MediaTek have launched some of the most brutally powerful and competitive chips we've ever seen in mobile in anything. Yep. And it makes Tensor kind of pokey by comparison when you see that evolutionary
suddenly
track
Google's
record.
Like, Samsung, what happened? Like, no, I know. It's a... yeah, man, the 9400, it's so good. The 8 Gen 2 is so good. The 8 Gen 3 is really good. And we're starting to see more 8S Gen 3 devices as well. Like the POCO F6 is running the 8S Gen 3, which it was a very interesting, I mean, it's a very interesting recommendation to like, hey, two phones came out. There's a standard and the Pro, and the standard one technically has a newer processor than the Pro, and something that may be more appealing to you if you're looking into picking it up. It depends on the type of what you're looking for. Gaming wise, I feel like, having the opportunity to go to Dubai to check out the event, to also get a chance to check out the POCO pad, which I finally got in, and
Yeah.
it is interesting. It is very interesting to see how familiar this pad is to another on the market. But
Sure.
I'm trying to be very
You're being very diplomatic. We're all very proud of you.
very
Yes.
diplomatic.
Quite.
But no, I mean, with that being aside, POCO's really pulling all the stops on any kind of they're shifting the performance, the overhaul the experience into what we're getting here. Going no longer with the mid-range processor, although the 8S Gen 3 is technically a less powerful 8 Gen 3 with the GPU may not be as good as the 8 Gen 3.
And the ISPs kind of
exactly
whatever they did to the ISP. But sure. I'll shut up. Sorry.
No. I mean, the experience is basically tailored to be a more affordable 8 Gen 3, but still a 2024 AI driven or AI focused SoC. And I think the F6 delivers on that absolutely fantastic. From a gaming experience to watching content, anything media consumption, there's no question the F6, the F6 Pro perform very, very close. Battery side, charging speed is slightly different, but that's just comes with the territory. But what I feel like the benefit comes in is with the sensor that the POCO went in with the F6 Pro, the image processing, the ISP on the Gen 2, and the tuning that they did in there is just so much better. It is a phenomenal, like the low light performance on that camera was crazy. I went out at night. The first night I got into Dubai with Daniel Sin.
Do you know what sensors in there?
I can't remember the name of it, and I'm sure somebody in the chat's going to jump on. But it's where am I? It's not a photo. Hold on a second. Oh my god, it's going to kill me. F6 Pro.
Did you hate that? It's like how can I just memorize all the specs and be my own walking GSM arena?
And I always want to be that guy that does have all of those, but it's like for me, it's like, oh my god, okay. And of course, I'm like, and everything it pulls up, it's not. What happened to Google? Google Summarize now gives me videos directly from GSM Arena. Thank you, because the specs are no longer available on GSM Arena. Hold on, where is it? No, not the K30. I want the actual POCO version of it. Oh, come on, for the love of God. I hate. Oh, here it is. Specs. And oh my God, I'm gonna hate myself by the time I find this in 6 pages later. Oh, here. Oh, the Light Fusion 800. Sorry, that's what it was. The Light Fusion 800 image sensor.
Is that the OmniVision?
No. I don't think it's the OmniVision.
If that's the same sensor that's in the Xiaomi 14, then that's the OmniVision. Did they give you the phone? Do you have the phone?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's one simple thing that you can do. Go into your Pro mode.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got an update.
And do you know what sensor size it is? It's a 1/1.3.
Yeah.
Okay. Go into your camera.
No, it's 1/1.55.
Oh, okay. So this might not be it then.
No.
But go in.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. If that were like if they had put the Xiaomi 14 OmniVision into a POCO, would have been insane. But you can still try this is to see if it has the same kind of, and one of the reasons why you might have better low light. Go into your Pro mode
on the ISO,
and then check what the ISO range is. Like, what can you manually set the ISO to?
12,800 is the maximum I can go to.
So yeah, OmniVision, their base ISO is different than what we see from Sony, the new Sony LYT, the light sensors, the Lightia sensors, whatever we're calling them now.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is giving us like 2 extra stops of dynamic range over a similarly sized camera sensor. So right now, of all the phones in my office right now, Oh yeah, I mean I believe it. Yeah, I mean what you're showing on the screen right here, and in that kind of low light
It
performance
it
is
was it
just
was
stupid.
it was stupid. Like I was surprised. I mean, this is where the pro and the non-pro stand out from each other so drastically. Like you could
Yeah,
see the difference. Like that is the line in the sand. But the sensor, the light fusion sensor that we have in here is so good to absorbing light,
but
and when you try to drop, Mhm.
Light Fusion is, I believe, an OmniVision partnership.
Maybe, maybe. All
So
I
no,
know
no,
is
no, no.
it's in right. I don't.
I
Yeah.
forget what they called it. Xiaomi on the Xiaomi 14 called it something like Light Mega Fusion 7 or something dumb, but it's really just an
Uh.
OmniVision sensor.
So yeah,
So
here.
I think that what you're looking at is an OmniVision partnership, and it's a smaller image sensor.
Hmm.
That's going to be a little bit smaller than the main camera sensor that's in the OnePlus 12,
Hey, your video came up when I looked up the Xiaomi 14.
but the OnePlus 12 is using the new non-stacked Lydia sensor. This stuff gets so stupid confusing the way that Sony has changed up their naming. But what their claim is,
Hmm.
the camera sensor in the OnePlus Open and the
Hmm.
OnePlus 12 should be able to soak up as much light per second
Yes,
as their last generation 1-inch type sensor.
exactly. And I think that's what they were trying to drive.
When looking at comparable sensor sizes, the OmniVision sensors have a solid, I mean, easily at least a one-stop advantage over Sony and a two-stop advantage over Samsung. So if you have a 1
That's a
over
big advantage.
1.3 inch type sensor,
Hmm.
when you pull that raw file, the OmniVision looks incredible, and the Samsung on the Galaxy Ultra looks like garbage. It's just noisy and grainy, and it's just awful. They are OmniVision came out swinging
Yeah,
so hard this year,
the 14
and
is
I
a
guarantee
banger.
you that the sensor that you got in that Poco costs less than anything Sony is selling to
Oh no, no,
manufacturers right now.
yeah, no. And not only that, I mean the price comparison that they put in there with the Agent 2, the RAM, and even the model that they sent out to me had a 1 terabyte of storage. I'm like, dude, 16 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage on a Poco. Like, they knew you were going to use it. Like, just seriously, it was an absolute fun experience. I documented the whole trip to Dubai. Stuck at the airport and all of that good stuff. But it is, um, if you're, that's what I kind of gave up in my video too. If you're looking for a great camera phone between the two, then if camera is more of the focus for you, the F6 Pro is where you need to go. If gaming and media consumption is more your shtick, then I think like the F6 does a much better job there because it starts at around 350. It's cheaper, but it uh, gets you into that experience faster, and the images are still pretty decent. It's just that low light is not the same performance, and I still feel like the color science on the F6 Pro, again with the ISP that we have on the HN2, still performs better. They're just much better images that come out of it. And video also very much better HDR processing that we get in there from both the front and rear camera sensors. And of course, we had 8K if you want to go there, but 4K 60 runs really nice on the main sensor on the back. So I think there's no real big downside to all of this. Um, the Xiaomi pad, sorry, not the Xiaomi pad, the Poco pad is also very nice, and I'm hopefully going to have that video in the next couple of days on that one. Trying to just wrap it up, and before I get into this next thing that I'm trying to do over the weekend. So you may, just trying to. It's hard, man. Next couple of months are going to be busy, very busy,
Yeah.
like very.
So I tried looking it up right now. Gizmo China keeps referring to the Light Fusion 800 as being an OmniVision part.
Oh, well then maybe yeah, maybe
So
it's a lower
I think what we're
configuration.
seeing is Xiaomi worked with Samsung,
Hmm.
and that was what was it, the Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra.
Oh wow, yeah, I still have that one
Then
actually.
they worked with Sony on really bringing the 989,
Yep,
to
that's for
market, the
the 12
1-inch type sensor.
exactly.
And now it looks like they've kind of taken information from all of these partnerships. And I bet you, like, this is probably a bit more of a collaboration. I bet you Xiaomi goes to Sony and says, hey, we want a 1-inch type sensor, but not something that you pulled out of an RX camera. We want an actual phone, 4x3, 1-inch type sensor. Can we make this happen? And after that partnership and the price that you have to pay, because they basically funded the development of the 989
Yeah.
as part of that Sony partnership. I forget how many, like tens of millions of dollars they paid into Sony's development of the 989. So they got it first, but then the agreement with Sony could sell it afterwards. I bet you they took all of that data and went to OmniVision and said, build this. And it's ours.
It is a dude. Xiaomi's image processing, image production, everything images coming out of their 14 series. And heck, man, even with POCO, I haven't heard of an offline POCO event going on live like for the longest time. So to actually get an opportunity to be with the team over in Dubai, that was actually a massive thing for me as well. But to see how good like the images coming out, the performance of this device and the price point that it's coming in, because again, they never tell us the pricing. We find out the pricing of these devices as everybody else does on stage. We're standing there and we're looking at the prices like, oh my God, like seriously. So like those things kind of like just jump at you. The F6 Pro definitely takes it out. I feel like it's actually even better than the X6 Pro. A lot of people were commenting on my video saying, "Save your money, go with the X6 Pro." I'm like, I think the F6 Pro would take the cake on this one. It has the performance, it has the processing, and you're getting a great. Again, it's still a one camera device. It's still one really good sensor on the entire phone, but it you're again getting it starting at like $475. I think it's still a really good deal in the markets that you're in, and you're getting 5G with it, dual SIM. Unfortunately, no eSIM, which I still kind of want.
Like, it's kind of the compromise that you walk into on something like a POCO is,
but
that they're trimming so much.
Oh no,
fat, but that's becoming something that isn't really fat anymore. Like, especially I love having
when you're going global though. If it was just China only, I would have been like maybe. But
okay, that kind of makes sense, I guess. But I mean, we're planning a trip this summer, and you're like, oh, I'm strategically picking phones that I know can handle a physical SIM and an eSIM, so that when I land, I have an easy time getting data and stuff. So it's I get why POCO plays that as conservative and to keep costs in check, but that's one that I'm starting to increasing on an F. If it were an M, okay, I kind of get it.
Yeah, or
even on an X, you kind of get it. But if the F is supposed to be your creme de la creme, that's when I would want to see them start.
I'm hoping in the next generation. That was my only caveat. So like what I ended up doing is when I was in Dubai, I was using my T-Mobile SIM there, and it was just low speed internet. At the airport when I landed, I was actually, I'll take that. Just a little bit of a hint for anybody if you're going to Dubai for the first time. As you get through customs in Dubai, when you're landing, they hand you a free 1 gig 5G SIM card at the airport. So I ended up popping that in there, and it picked up 5G right away. Except that you burn through 5G in like that 1 gig in like a day and a half. Like it's not really
minutes.
But, it was.
I'd be done in minutes.
It was pure, but my trip was the total of 2 days. So, dude, I didn't have enough time to adjust to the time zone. That's how quick my trip was. I landed landed Tuesday night, like late. Wednesday we were out all day. Thursday was the event, and 2 a.m. on Thursday night, technically the morning of Friday, but like at 2 a.m. was my flight back.
Yeah, that's whiplash.
Yeah, well, I'm like, where did I even no. I luckily didn't adjust. I'm still kind of getting through it, but I think overall, it was interesting. Very different than what I thought. Very beautiful city. Very beautiful architecture, buildings. I didn't get a chance to go to the Burj Khalifa, but I got the chance to try out a lot of good food. Gives me a lot of Vegas vibes a little bit. I'll say minus the casinos, but like the fancy.
Don't you feel like it's kind of built artificially to fill a kind of tourism.
It absolutely, it is built built for a purpose. It is absolutely a tourism focused attraction. People, and actually, I take that back. It's also built in a mindset of layovers. So many people go to Dubai on these 10 to 12 hour layovers. They
somewhere else. Yeah, right.
Where they're going somewhere else because they wanted to visit the town. And you could, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, in a day, you could kind of do all the highlights. To kind of have a good idea. Like you can get into town, get out, and it's decent. And then so many cuisines and food. So yeah, long story short, incredibly long story short, it was a very busy week. A few more of those coming up, but hopefully we'll keep our head on our shoulders and we'll see how it goes. Keep it going. I know we said we were going to try to make it tight, but as usual,
I just hit like that. Oh, I think my voice is actively failing, so we should probably start wrapping this up.
No. I'm sure. So I actually was going to say
it held out better than I thought it was going to, though. So that's pretty good.
Man. We always got to give you really good enticing.
It's the good company and all the familiar faces in our chat.
Yeah, everybody hanging out with us.
I mean, we didn't even do a roll call like we usually do at the beginning of the show, but we had some. Armando was cracking me up, and we've got Wade County just kind of like chatting up some of this stuff. And unfortunately, Sep, we couldn't get to your question about Top Shot, but I don't really use it. But even Awesome Possum popping up on Twitch, just saying what up.
Yeah, no, and I saw Gabriella was in there as well. Yeah, no, I mean,
so it's just good times. Good folks.
Quick kind of heads up kind of thing. Is there anything coming out from you this week or?
Oh, there always is. I'm going to try and get that Pixel 8a versus OnePlus 12R public tomorrow. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah.
It is live. Oh, it should be live now on the Patreon, so you can at least kind of catch that in preview. Okay. And then I have a couple things on his desk here. I'm going to shut up because I'm not sure if I can talk about them yet.
Okay.
But I'm going to be revisiting some earbuds, like cabled IEMs, some multi-drivers, a brand that I was not expecting to be selling at like a middle premium tier. They're kind of known for being more like wood finished audiophile, super expensive, but they're making something a bit more mainstream.
Okay.
And then I also have another phone here, and I'm looking through and like, oh, they never said I was clear to talk about this, and no one else has. So I'm gonna shut up, but expect very soon I will have a video on the Acer. I will have a video on the GameSir, the controller.
The controller,
which is just out of reach, and I can't reach it there. And then the finally really getting some coverage out on the Pixel 8a and that other stuff. So
good.
There's going to be a lot coming out before we get to X Elite dominating all of our channels.
I have a few. I have a couple of things coming up. So there's a couple of phones I can't talk about yet. Hopefully coming up in the upcoming weeks or so we can actually kind of take a chance to talk about. But at least in the next couple of days for me, as I'm about to disappear for a couple of days, just for a quick thing. It's going to be pretty much just kind of summarizing, closing up stuff. So the POCO Pad video, I'm hoping tomorrow or Saturday morning at the latest. I got this really interesting, cool charger from our buddies over at OnePlus.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah. Surprisingly an interesting approach to, charging and cabling, and it is actually very nice. It's a 10,000 milliampere battery, and it's great for travel. Charges. It comes with all the accessory parts for charging it directly out of the wall. You don't have to have a wire kind of have like a charger to charge it from, but the charger is actually here. That's the actual wall adapter. You connect it together, and so if you really want to charge it from the wall,
clever.
And there's these wires that are like somewhat detachable. Actually, so here, like you could detach them, and you can run this just like a regular wall outlet. And it's like, sorry, cheesy, trying to do it live.
No, that's cool. That's fun. We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. So yeah, here you plug it in. So this becomes your wall charger, and this is your power bank. Obviously in all fuzzy and unfocused images, because that's how TK does it. And so if you want to run it like a regular power bank, this is literally how you would charge it, right? You take your power bank, you charge it directly in the wall. But what they're doing smart with it is they made everything into one piece.
That's cute.
And now you could just charge it straight on the wall and plug directly into it and charge your device. Supports VOOC. I think is it up to 65 watts, if I'm not mistaken, and 40-watt PD. So
Oh,
great
that's
charger
great.
for everything. Yeah, no, literally for MacBook.
Yeah.
For your
So
PC.
it's like the old warp charger.
Exactly, which is what we used to like all the time. And I actually carry.
I still have like two of them under my desk right now.
I
I
carry
like the old warps
OnePlus
better than the Super
charger,
VOOCs.
the old warp charger with me only because of the fact that it does support both. Because I could use it to charge up my devices and my pixels and everything. And if I want to charge up my OnePlus Open, it runs perfectly with
Yeah.
it. So, expect something on that again with the POCO pad and maybe an e-scooter video, hopefully by maybe mid next week or so. Kind of wrapping up things, getting ready for the bigger guns, I guess I'll say, as we'll see. But yeah, no, it's
coming
crazy.
fast.
Oh, dude, yeah, no, this year. Everybody, I was telling my wife and my son, like, it's almost like everybody woke up and everybody's having a party. So it's exciting to see more stuff coming out. I'm still kind of bummed out that we're not getting a Sony, but that's a conversation for another episode or a conversation for.
But where would I put it? Now I'm so busy. I don't even think I could have reviewed a Sony. So
it's a tougher conversation.
What you gonna do?
But I will say. Make sure to check out Juan on Monday. Catch him with the SGGQA at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Actually, if you're on YouTube watching us, it'll be on the same channel. He dual broadcast here and on Twitch as well. And of course, make sure to check out the show notes. Audio version of the podcast will be coming out hopefully in the next day or so. And we'll see you guys again next week. I'm hoping we'll have more stuff to be able to talk about that we can't talk this week. I kind of also, I understand simpatico. I got to figure out the what can and cannot be talked about. But it is exciting to see what's coming up. We know at least the GT6 from Realme is coming out. That we saw some teaser from them. I think early today, their CEO was holding it on a picture on Forbes, so he was on the news. So we'll see. We'll see how that kind of comes out. But be safe, stay safe, everybody. And as usual, we'll see you guys next week.